So tonight I wanted to talk about core subjectivity. The title may sound a bit dry, but hopefully we can work our way through that. Normally I would talk about awareness, but sometimes we can think of awareness as somehow elusive or somehow not quite here, something I have to attain somewhere. If I have the right circumstances, maybe it can be available. So I thought approaching it from this sense of core subjectivity. So by subjectivity, let's just take a simple first grade phrase like, I see a bird, right? Bird is the object, of course, and then there's the action item, seeing, the verb, I see a bird. And so then there's this sense of I see a bird. I have this, I am present for some capacity that I have to be able to recognize an object arising within my field of vision. Right? So if we would say such a phrase, typically we can maybe be looking out the window or sitting on a bench outside and notice a bird, and we can see that it is at some distance from ourselves. I mean, we can see the tip of our nose, that's close, and then the bird appears to be further away. So it appears to be, if we take what's close to be ourselves, and we can see the bird beyond that, then we can say, well, the bird somehow lies outside of myself. It's not really me, it's just an object that I can perceive. Okay. But we can also close our eyes and imagine the same bird. And there'll be an image that appears in our mind's eye. And that image, I mean, it won't be as well pixelated as the image that we have when our eyes are open, but they both appear in our mind's eye. So it sort of blurs the distinction about what's inside and what's outside. Both are appearing wholly within our brain's capacity to reconstitute an image, one generated or initiated from an outside, so-called outside object, brought into our sphere of awareness through this ability of sight, and the other one is brought up into our awareness through this function that we have that we call memory, bringing it, sort of rebooting it from memory. But both appear as images in our brain, reconstructed. Okay. So then the question is, when this image is seen in the brain, what recognizes that? Because there's the image, and then there's something that is knowingly present to see that image, right? So it's not the image itself, because there's this sense of looking at the image, whether it's the bird outside or a memory of the bird in our head, in our imagination. There's the image, and then there's something that's aware of the image that must be something other than the image, right? Mm-hmm. So in that sense, we can say the image, although it appears and may even appear within this sense of my mind's eye, we can still say yes, but it still is not the sense of, the most essential sense of me. So this is what I mean by core subjectivity. Core subjectivity is just when it's distilled to its most fundamental sense of what we take ourselves to be. So we can pretty easily see that what I take myself to be is not the bird out in the tree, but we can also see, hopefully in the same sense, that it's not the reconstituted memory image of the bird that appears in our mind. Both in a sense are similar in that sense. Okay, so let's look at something in a little different vein. So we can, in one sense, look at what we take ourselves to be, and we might say, well, I am this body, right? And we can look down, we can touch it, we can sense it, we can look at it. But when we really start to look more closely, is that where this identity, where this sense of core subjectivity, what I really, really, truly take myself to be when I say I am whatever I am happy, I am sad, I am successful, I am bored, whatever. What we take this I to be, is it the experience? You know, when we say something like I am sad, for example, you know, in some sense, we've reduced our entire sense of being to sadness. I am sad equates to I equals sadness, right? So and I understand that feelings can be overwhelming sometimes, but they're never the entirety of our experience. You know, even if we were totally caught in grief or sadness or even anger, some really powerful feeling, if something else happened in that moment, a tree fell through the roof where we were, we would notice that. We're still breathing. There's still bodily functions happening. So there's still, we're never only that. So we, might be careful about claiming such things, because when we say things like that to ourselves often enough, they have the power of creating a reality. When we say, I am sad, that means that whatever we take this I to be is itself sad. It's not just experiencing sadness, it is sadness, right? There's no separation there at all. So just this way we talk to ourselves is something to take note of. Okay, so if we look at our body and we take ourselves to be that, but if we break it down, like, let's just say that our skin, for example, has a sense of touch, right? But is the skin itself, despite having this capacity to register this, is the skin itself insisting that it is in itself where this origin of the sense of I is? Is the skin insisting that I am I? Well, we know that that's not the case. I remember once, quite a few years ago, I had a surgery on my leg and I had a spinal anesthetic, and otherwise I was conscious. But my legs were completely without feeling, to the extent that I said to the doctor, let me know when you start your operation, just out of curiosity. And they said, well, we've already started. But there's absolutely no feeling. I mean, they could have sawn off my legs for all I knew. So it's not that the cells on your skin, on my legs, lost their ability to sense, but how that was communicated to the brain was interrupted by the spinal anesthetic. So the cells themselves aren't where the sense of I is housed. Right? It's like during COVID, some people lost their sense of smell, but even though we may take that for granted, no one ever said, well, I've lost my sense of smell and I don't know who I am anymore. that that didn't happen. So it's not like any one of these perceptions, capacities, define what it is that we are. I mean, we could lose our sense of sight, and there would still be the sense of I. There's still this very intimate sense of it's still me. I may not be able to see anymore, but I know it's still me. I haven't lost that, whatever that is, right? Once my sister was once at Mayo Clinic having a lung transplant. She was there for quite some time. And I was there once and part of a support group, and I once met somebody who in one operation had his heart, liver, and kidneys transplanted. And yet there was still the sense of, it's still me, So this sense of I isn't housed, we can attribute it to this body, but when we actually try to pin it down, like, well, which organ is it located in? We can't do that. The body's made up of these, cooperating organs, bone, skin, and so on. And yet the identity isn't parked in any one of those. The identity with the body is something that we've learned in this lifetime. We weren't born with that. We had the ability when we were first born to sense into certain bodily needs, like hunger, perhaps, and we could express that need, but it wasn't like our belly itself was saying, "What about me?" It was communicating something that was interpreted by the brain, and we could express that, but we didn't at that very young age say, well, this is me, this is who I am, I've been reduced to hunger. So this sense of taking ourselves to be this body is something that we've learned over the course of this lifetime, that what I am is this body. And so that's something that we can see when we look real closely at how the body is composed, that we can see that this sense of I isn't located in the body. So, so we've sort of been reducing our focus to see where it actually is located, right? And so one of the easiest ways to dismiss things is, let's say we get invited to a dinner party and somebody who we've just met asks us about ourselves, and we run out our elevator speech about name and hobbies and family status and where we work and where we live and so on. But if we could imagine that even if our entire factual makeup, was downloadable, let's say, I'll just for example, take Facebook on steroids, that knew every single thing about you, every fact better than you knew, things that you had forgotten, it knew. But it wouldn't have the experience of being you. It might know everything about you, but it wouldn't have that visceral sense of, oh, I am Don, right? It wouldn't have that. And that's what we're pointing to here, that what we truly are actually is not dependent on any particular fact about us. Age, gender, health, religion, culture, race, any of that, right? Because there's a deeper sense of just of being. Okay, so we can just, as we further and further back up, what we can notice is that there is this sort of core sense of I that remains even when we set aside all these different ways we could try to locate ourselves, through perception or through, the bodily functions, or through memory, or through, facts about ourselves, all of that. And we can see that all of that, while it has some conventional truth to it, we don't have to deny that we're whatever we take ourselves to be. We don't have to deny that. It's just not the most essential thing about us. And so if we're in search of what that core subjectivity is, that core sense of me, what this really is, what is this, we can see that it's not dependent on the body, it's not dependent on perceptions, it's not dependent on our history, it's not dependent on beliefs, it's not dependent on how we feel at any one time, right? Because the same core perception is possible for when we feel sad or when we feel joyous. And we know when we really stop and think about it that no matter what we're feeling at any particular time, that's always in the process of changing, always, changing in just the flavor of something, or the duration, or the intensity. And then after some period of time, maybe longer, maybe shorter, morphs into another feeling, another sensation. And that's how we go about our days. And if we're trying to manage what those sensations or perceptions are, then we're engaging in appearances. We're trying to manage things on a level that's outside of our most essential self. And to some degree that works. I mean, if we're out in the world and playing by rules that work in the world, there's some payoff there, and that's fine. But at some point there might be a curiosity about what would it feel like if I just allowed life to unfold as it does, to move as it does, and just be sensitive enough to that flow to respond as needed at the time that I'm called upon to do something. And then then life still tends to unfold. We still get to participate, but rather than trying to manage circumstances that are really on the exterior of what we truly are, we can spend a lot of effort for not so much return. Right? But if we're sort of on board with the sense of that life has an intelligence to it and it is unfolding as it will, then as we become more sensitive to how that moves, there's much more of an ease, because we're not opposing something that has a certain movement to it, right? Life still goes on, and hopefully we know by now that life won't always be easy. I mean, even anybody that still holds out hope that, well, after I get enlightened, life will be smooth. Not necessarily, but we won't be quite so invested in it turning out always exactly like I want it to turn out. That's what changes. It's more of a relaxation into, yes, sometimes I'll like what's happening, sometimes not so much, but in either case, I'm okay with it. I'm at ease with it. So we're not spinning our wheels opposing life, or feeling like it's me versus life. There's more of a willingness to just join in with the flow of how life is showing up at any one time, knowing that there may be some difficult times. We know that, whether illness or old age or loss of friends or social calamities or loss of career, and I mean there's all kinds of possibilities, and there's joyous times as well. It's like any good movie. If it was all good times, the movie wouldn't be that interesting. So as we step back into this core subjectivity, just seeing what is relatively true, we can allow that to be, that we don't have to deny any of that, but just see that on one level, on a relative level, that's fine, but on a deeper level, if we can sense this core subjectivity isn't at all distant, it's just what is always present when we just slow down enough to see what's already present, already fully functional. It's not something that we have to earn or be worthy of or even be graced with. It's just, it's the gift that's already been given, and our task, if we want to call it that, is we have the opportunity in this lifetime to just recognize what is already there, already free, already quiet, already at peace. And yes, life goes on. That too.